Now, this is the big debate in our day is marriage a civil contract or is it a biblical covenant? A civil contract is really just between two people. It's more of a business arrangement. It's a legal arrangement. It's like two business partners merging into one firm. It's civil. The Christian understanding, the biblical understanding, is that it is not civil, it is covenantal. Meaning it's not just two people, it's two people in God who oversees the covenant. This is why at Mars Hill Church we see marriage differently than the greater culture does, because we're Bible-believing Christians. It also means that we do not allow people to get married who do not meet the biblical criteria. We would never marry a believer and an unbeliever, because to be in covenant with one another, they first need to be in covenant with God. Two unbelievers can marry, two believers can marry, but a believer and an unbeliever cannot marry, because if they're not in covenant with God, they should not be in marital covenant with one another. This is why if a couple comes to us at Mars Hill and says, "I'd like to be married," we put them in a premarital process to help them understand the terms, conditions, and requirements of God's marriage covenant. It's why we would never marry anyone as elders unless we were convinced that they took their covenant before God seriously. It's why we would never officiate or allow someone to officiate a wedding in one of our churches unless they were covenantal in their thinking. People call all the time, "Could we rent your building?" Not for a civil marriage, only for a covenantal marriage. We don't want to confuse people who think, well, we don't have a covenant with God, we're not entering into a covenant with one another, but we'd like to do it in the church because grandma's very traditional and it looks better for the photos. We want to be very clear. That which is civil and that which is covenantal is covenantal. And our view of marriage is entirely guided by scriptures, and it doesn't matter what vote is taken or what the politicians or the lawyers determine. Ultimately, what we care about is what God has spoken.